Hello, welcome to Footprint. My name is Samuel Atamensa. As usual, we'll be having a very rich conversation with our guest for today. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be delving straight into the conversation. Welcome once again. We have in the studio today Nene Nagai Kasa, the 8th, known in public life as Honorable Mike Gizo. Yeah. Now, I'll be addressing you as Nene and Honorable Mike Gizo interchangeably.
Any of them.
Thank you for finally.
Some young men in Osu, some small boys in Osu, they call me Mike Gizo.
Oh.
Anytime they see me, they said.
Because the name is actually a brand. so permit us to say Mike Gizo from time to time, well, because it's sweet.
Yes, okay. Right.
Nene, thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are honored to be in your home today.
It's my pleasure.
And as you can see, we have all the pictures of Nene Nagai here. As a chief. And for the younger ones, especially those from your traditional area, will only know you as the chief of the so maybe you can explain what your chieftaincy is about and what your role is. So Nene Nagai Kasa, the 8th.
Yeah.
Which area are you presiding over and all that?
Thank you very much. I am first and foremost a Shai. That is
that's the ethnic group.
Yes.
Shai. Okay.
Shai or Se in our language.
All right.
That is from Dodua to AGOMEDA and then to Shai Hills.
Okay.
It's a big area.
So Shai Hills would have crossed the road to the other side
yes.
of the Temakosombo Road.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And I am a divisional chief and the president of the divisional council.
Okay.
And I was installed in 2006. Just when I stepped down from Parliament, and I thought I could go into
other areas. Enjoy your private life.
Yes, and perhaps continue with public service or so, because I keep on saying man is born to serve.
That's correct.
When God created us and gave us the garden to dress and keep it, we had a charge to serve. So I wasn't surprised. I'm not surprised at all anytime I'm called to serve. So my chief then...
So tell me, you are the president of the
Divisional Council.
Divisional
Traditional
council.
Area.
Okay.
Traditional Council.
Which area is this again?
That's Shai Traditional Council.
Shai Traditional Council. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
the division is Mlahiome. Division.
Now this Shai Traditional Council would consist of which?
Two other divisions.
Okay.
Lekpeji and Hiome.
Okay. Now for those of us outside, we only recognize by the names of the main towns. If
that
you
is
can help
Kodiabe, Doyumu,
Dodowa.
Yes.
Okay.
So but basically, you have a lot of sub-chiefs in Dodowa.
Okay.
Dodowa, though being the district capital and where the traditional council is situated, and the regional houses, the chiefs there are under the three traditional chiefs who are in AGOMEDA.
Oh, I see.
Kodiabe and Doyumu.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So public life, I saw you in public life.
Yes.
You know, minister once, minister twice, and a third time minister, member of parliament, and all that. Such a distinguished role that you have played. So people in their 30s, 40s will always remember Honorable Mike Gizo, the
Yes.
minister and all that. But prior to that, you had another angle of public life that I am interested in. Media.
Oh, yes.
Media. And I know you had, a very successful
Yes.
media career. Tell us about your foray into the media. How did you first get into the media?
Yeah. Thank you. I initially trained as a journalist and a PR chap, and then I did marketing.
Okay.
So I joined Kumasi Brewery,
Oh,
having done a little stint with the civil service.
oh, okay.
Yes. I worked in customs
Wow.
some years back.
As a customs officer?
The first black customs controller, I served under him.
Wow. You used to wear the uniform?
Well,
at that time, they were not
at that
wearing
time we
blue.
didn't have uniforms.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So,
But that time there was a lot of money there and you left?
oh well, it wasn't for money.
Oh, okay.
In fact, there is a whole lot of history about that too, because I joined the civil service because I had then had once a scholarship to go and do medicine
Oh,
in Bulgaria
okay.
in 1966, about March, April, and then the coup happened.
Oh, wow.
So, well, not to spend much time thinking, I joined the civil service. Establishment secretariat was there, so they pushed me to the customs. It was a fruitful exercise, though,
Wow.
because it gave you an insight into what was happening in Ghana.
Yeah, yeah.
So after that, I joined Accountant General, and then I was asked to work in the police treasury. So I was like a policeman.
Oh, you went?
I joined the police treasury.
Okay.
I mean, it was inside the regional police office.
Wow.
So that was an experience too. There is much to say about that, but we don't normally talk about those things.
Wow.
And then I joined, having studied all these things we are talking about, I joined the Kumasi Brewery
Yeah.
as an area sales rep.
Wow. And that will be in Kumasi.
Yes, but training was briefly in Kumasi.
And then came
But
back
I
to
was
Accra.
I came back. I was transferred to Accra with one or two others.
But that time, KBL, as we knew, was huge.
Oh yes, I mean it was dignifying.
Of course.
I mean to be a rep of KBL.
Yeah.
There were the pips and the pegs,
Yeah.
and as young men, you know, the KBL marketing department was all young men. I mean, very interesting people.
You became the reference point among your friends, you know.
Well, I didn't know that. I mean, I was working.
You were enjoying life, man. You know. But remember some of the people you were with at the time in KBL who are in public that we should know?
Well, I don't think many of them are. I know Mr. Ajin Sam. I don't know where he is. Mr. Boapim. He was also there.
Okay.
It was after us that David Labi and others also joined KBL.
Okay, from GBC.
Yes, David Labi was a private person.
Okay.
And then Charles Ladbridge and others. Then from there, I joined the
Gihok.
Distilleries.
Wow.
And it was a very controversial thing because KBL did not want to release me But I said I needed to also try greener pastures elsewhere. But then I remember the white man, the marketing chap, Hill, he said the pastures are not always green over the wall. And when he wrote to me that I should rescind my decision.
Your decision.
I also said that if it was not green, we have to water it to make it green. So I had to leave. And the training you had in KBL.
KBL at the time.
For marketing and for everything else, and for the special KBL training, we had manuals for marketing and PR and all those things, for merchandising and all those things. And any time you were leaving, you had to return all those things. They would make sure they are intact because they were in competition with other breweries.
That's correct.
So I sat down in the night. Those days we didn't have
computers,
photocopiers and things like that. So I always sat down in the night, and there's a big secret. I copied all my manuals.
Manually?
Yes. You know, about 6 books. I copied them. And then I sent this thing and left. So they were worried when I was going to the distilleries. And it was strange. The distillery also sent me to the northern sector, that is Ashanti,
above.
Yes, northern region and upper region. So my competition in Kumasi was very interesting.
Direct, yes.
Yes. But I did about 2.5 years. And I had to join the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC.
Yes. Okay,
commercial department of GBC.
Okay,
right.
That makes sense.
Yes.
So you didn't go there as a programs person or a presenter?
No.
Okay.
But then, you see, once you are in GBC and you are with commercial department, you had to learn
other things. Yeah.
Other things, because if you were talking about sponsorship of programs, you must know how to break programs or the content, and I mean a whole lot of things. So you go to the GBC school a little, and then you have some training, and you go around all the departments, especially with television. You know, sometimes you work in newsroom too, because you must understand. We had news agencies for other advertising purposes, and you must. In those days, we didn't advertise. It was not legal to advertise beer and drugs on television. These days, I see certain things, and I'm scared. But it's happening. So the times have changed.
Yeah.
And I was in the commercial department, so we basically worked with the PR and advertising agencies. You know, the Lentas, the AdMac and things like that. You know, there were quite a number of advertising agencies.
Oh, okay. So Lentas was still there?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Lentas was in the hands of white men before they gave it to...
That's correct.
Yes. And it was then that the late
Jake
Obejibilamte, Mr. Jake Obejibilamte, became the general manager. So we worked closely together. And I spent quite a lot of time in broadcasting.
Wow. Now, so I'm sure that's satisfying career and also fulfilling. What we saw as young people was my Gizo and your role in the TV theaters
Wow.
of the day, and how spectacular you exhibited your roles. Now, I remember Avenue A.
Yes.
And then there was Thursday Theatre.
Exactly.
And then there was also Villa Kakalika.
Exactly.
Is that the correct?
Yes.
Villa Kakalika.
Villa Kakalika. Joyce Hado.
Okay.
Yes.
So Avenue A, Thursday Theatre, Villa Kakalika.
Yes.
And I know those of you are hearing the thing for the first time. Say, what is that? Don't
Yes.
worry. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will let him tell us his role in all these drama pieces that caught the whole nation glued to their black and white TV sets. That sounds like history.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Right.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
Welcome back to the program. This is Footprint, and I'm here with Nene Nagai Kasa the 8th, known in public life as Honorable Mike Gizo. Honorable, so what were the roles you played in each of these theater drama series?
It's interesting. Let me tell you a story. I used to play every role.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a laborer, a brokerman, and all those things.
Yeah.
Then, because Joyce will give me the script and he says, I know you can do it.
So Joyce is the producer?
Yes, Joyce Ado. She's late.
Okay.
She's passed on. And I used to play every role.
So which one came first? Avenue A?
Avenue A and Thursday Drama before Villa Kakalika.
Okay. So were they the same thing with different names?
Well, they were drama, but content.
Okay.
You know.
But this was in English, right?
Yes, they were all in English. But Villa Kakalika actually portrayed a lot of African themes and Ghanaian themes. The rural setting and our beliefs and things like that.
Okay.
Avenue A was a general, I would say, Ghanaian scene.
Okay.
Yes. And it was something like you could play any role.
Okay. But did that give you, if you like, a certain level of exposure to the public?
Yes.
That now everywhere you went, people could...
Yes. I mean, you are, one time a poor man, you are Ojam somewhere, and then you are, hey, Kofi Brokman somewhere, and next time, you are something.
Because at the time, it was only GBC TV.
GBC TV.
So everybody
else.
had to watch.
On Thursdays and Wednesdays or so. I mean, Avenue A, Thursdays and Fridays or so. So I one day got a message. Somebody called me and said, my Gizo, we like the way you act and all those things, but I am a priest. And I don't like what I see you acting, because if you don't take care, you might fall into one of those roles spiritually. And I said, so what do I do? He said, don't take a poor man's role, and don't take a laborer's role. And so I said, but if they bring this, he said, no, reject them. Well, so I told Joyce. She laughed at that thing and came back and said, well, I will try and make you an executive and all those things. And so I started playing those roles. And I remember very well. So I stopped Avenue A. I stopped Villa Kakalika and Thursday Drama. And then he brought me a script in which it was a series, The Minister of Power. And I read the script. I was even traveling out of the country at that time. I took the scripts, read it, 2 of them, came back, and I said, yes, I'll play that role. And it was the minister and the prisoner who had power over the other. Because you are a minister, you have power and all those things, but the tendency for you to fall into some problem and go to prison is also there. I mean, so we had to put the 2 roles, and I remember it was me and Kofi Renchi, the old Kofi Renchi of NAFTI and Ghana Film Industry. So all of a sudden, and I became a star, minister, and everybody was calling me a minister. Then I had to leave broadcasting after about 15, 16 years.
Wow.
And then, because the government then, the PNDC, then was instituting the AKUAFO CHEQUE.
Okay.
And they...
Those are early 80s.
Early 80s, yes. And I had done a few things for government behind the scenes.
Okay.
And they felt that I would be useful in that area. So in constituting the committee, I was made in charge of public education for AKUAFO CHEQUE.
Yes. Okay.
Now I'll tell you.
At this time, you are still an employee of GBC.
GBC.
Okay.
Yes. So I used to go to Cocoa Board. You know, it was
CMB then.
CMB then, and it was basically a CMB activity. And so I discussed this issue with the committee people. At that time it was Atoa Dr. Abe, Dr. Kushibuchi, and others. And I felt that we needed to educate Cocoa Board itself from the beginning, before the program was launched. So they said then, we are seconding you to Cocoa Board. And so I had to be seconded to Cocoa Board to serve with the PR department and draw programs and all those things. AKUAFO CHEQUE was interesting.
Tell me, what problem was the AKUAFO CHEQUE supposed to solve?
To solve payment to farmers.
Which they hitherto were receiving from their banks.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
they were receiving from the cocoa purchasing officers.
Oh, the
Clerks.
deals, yes.
The deals.
Okay, my
But
father was one actually.
Oh, okay. But the problem was that most of these people were squandering the money.
Okay, I don't know whether he did. He
No,
never told me.
the way
I therefore dissociate myself.
the way you are, I think you came under a good what do you call it, discipline. And your old man, yes, yes.
Okay.
So we wanted to solve this problem because the purchasing officers bought cocoa on credit and took money from Cocoa Board, and sometimes they didn't pay cocoa farmers. They used it on their own lifestyle. So there was the need.
Because to be honest, those were some big guys in the villages, man.
Oh yes.
To be a purchasing officer in the village, you're like the DC.
And the monies they were handling at that time were big monies.
Because my father always had fresh notes.
Yes, and they had safe.
Okay.
In the office, So it was, I mean, big money.
Okay.
And so they used to trade with it.
Oh, wow.
And when they are satisfied with the situation, perhaps then they pay the cocoa.
Okay, so that's why the check.
So the cocoa thing, when we looked at the cocoa sector, which was one of our major economic sectors, we saw that it was dwindling. And we had to revamp the cocoa farms and the payment system. So we had to do the two together, the cocoa rehabilitation and then the cocoa payment. And for that matter, we had to devise a system that will give payment directly to the farmers. And one of the issues was there were no banks in the rural areas. So we had to also get the banks to open up. Actually had a meeting with, or a series of meetings with Bank of Ghana to relax the banking rules for the banks, especially those going into rural areas, so that they could open up the rural areas. It was tough because in educating the farmers and in doing the rallies, and strangely enough, at that time, I had to use the president or the chairman PNDC.
You had to do what?
Use the chairman PNDC, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, may he rest in peace, at that time. Because, well, you are going to do rallies. Who is the magnet for your rallies? Those are things that... So
is it rallies for farmers?
Farmers.
Okay,
or
as
for
in direct consumer communication.
Yes, consumer communication, for public education, and for them to understand that it was not one of the things that government does, because if the chairman of PNDC himself is attending every rally, I must be honest with you, may he rest in peace, but I gave him a tough time. Because we had to do so many rallies in the Western region, in Ashanti, Eastern, Central, and even added the North because of shea butter. Cocoa Board was doing shea butter too. And they were successful because everybody wanted to see Jerry John Rawlings. And that was when we went to discuss it with him, what I also used. Because they had then been PNDC, fresh. And people see you on TV, but they don't know you. So what do? You must get closer to the people.
So this AKUAFO check, and did they resolve the problems?
Oh yes, they resolved it because there was one local person. We formed a committee in every area. One local person, or an educated local person, who would sign checks with the purchasing clerks or the district purchasing officers.
Okay.
And it worked. It worked.
Now, so at this point, technically, you are still an employee of GBC.
GBC.
At which point did you take yourself out of the GBC system?
I worked with Cocoa Board for almost 2 years.
Okay.
And then I decided I needed to bow out because we had introduced a AKUAFO check. And if you stayed in the department, that is the public relations department, for some time, it sounded like you were taking over
somebody's job.
And it was...
You're not ready for that.
But I remember very well the Minister for Sanitation, Water and Sanitation, Minister Cecilia Dapa. She was there, very hardworking.
Yeah,
yes, very hardworking.
You remember we were in church with her?
Ah, yes, yes. Very hardworking.
Yeah.
So we worked.
Wow.
And so I took leave, and then F. Malawi, which was a Philips agency, got in touch with me that they wanted me to come and join them. I handled their marketing and sales department. So I took the opportunity and resigned from GBC. Because from private sector to government, and I went back to private sector.
Okay.
And initially, it was an agency for Philips.
Which year?
That was in 86.
Okay.
86, yes. So I went on training with Philips.
Where did you do the training?
In Eindhoven.
Okay.
The Philips head office.
Okay, in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, yes, Eindhoven. And you met a lot of people. I mean, they train you. They train you for wild goods, for medical systems, for everything. Because if we were coming to be for their marketing and sales department, lighting, everything, and the language you must use, and your nature and character must also conform to that. You know, they shape you. So you go for periodic training and come, and I went to wild goods in Italy. It's amazing. We can't have much time to talk about it. But what it shows me, or what it told me then, was that you can study so many things. Even though you have a line of specialty. You can't be a PR man, but you must be a wild goods sales manager, a medical sales manager, or something else. And that's why sometimes we want to find out if we couldn't have the opportunity to learn other things apart from the disciplines that we learn and graduate in. Yes, you know, because the whole world is linked up in some total unison. Because you're speaking to a medical man and you realize that he needed some other people to help in the hospital. It's not purely medicine, but there are other specialties. And beyond that, I realized also that you must have a certain discipline in you as a personality to make sure that you can learn all these things. And that was on the advent of computers and things like that.
So tell me, when you came back from the training for F. Malawi, Philips as an electronic brand was quite dominant.
It was.
And you also had the local brands, Akasanoma, Ghana Sanyo, and the likes to compete with.
Yes.
What was the industry like? What was the competition like?
It was very hectic. But you see, we have a local language that we say penyin di penyin, nokotoma. You know, and it's an age-old saying, but having grown through the system and period, I realized that there is so much wisdom in that language. You know, Phillips was in Ghana for a very long time.
Yeah.
And these others had come, but the quality of products and service that we offered was another thing.
Okay.
You know, somebody would say par excellence. You know, and even if you come to the showroom, the way we have managed the showroom gives you a tour. Not lighting alone, but we were doing medical systems, we were doing other things, and we were doing stadium lighting, etc. So, for instance, the Accra Sports Stadium, yes, when the lighting was bad, it was Philips that came to rectify it.
Yeah.
Yes. And Kumasi, we did some work there. So they were into many things.
How many years were you with Philips? Or
From
Malawi? Yeah.
From 86 to 92.
Okay.
Yes, 6 years.
At this time, you were doing politics?
No,
Okay.
but I entered into politics with a certain swing of fate. There was this district assembly concept,
Yeah.
you know, and my colleagues, I traveled, and when I came back, I saw my name in the papers. You know, I had been posted to my Dangme West District Assembly. At that time, Mr. Tamensa, the district assembly was district assembly. I must say, there was not much politics in the district assembly. And if they said government appointees, they nominated or they looked for people who were resourceful or who could help.
Okay. So at this point, you were still an employee of F Malawi,
Yes.
and you decided to move into the district
Well,
assembly to help.
I've been nominated,
Nominated.
a government appointee.
And it wasn't required that you resign from
No.
your work first.
No.
Okay. So
Because
you tried to do that.
We attended meetings about twice or thrice in a quarter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I drive from Accra to Dodua to
Okay.
attend meetings, and I became presiding member of the district assembly.
That's a big one.
Yes.
That's a big one.
Yes. I mean, at that time, it was no joke.
Yeah, but again, I mean, he's talking about the period in our history when being appointed to a position like that, you didn't think about money. In fact, you don't dare think about money.
At all. Oh, yes.
But these days, the tables have turned.
Well, you know, may he rest in peace. But working under Chairman Jerry John Rawlings
At the time.
and a certain type of political heads, you know, was a discipline by itself.
Okay, hold it right there. We'll take a short break. Now, when we come back, I'd like to know when he eventually left F Malawi and when he took that decision that let me go into this thing full time, head on. This is still Footprint. We'll be right back.
This is Fact Finder from the BBC.
We live in a world where news travels fast, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate fact from fiction. Fact Finder brings fact-checking from the newsroom up close so you can separate truth from chaff. Be empowered to tell what's fake from what's real. Watch Fact Finder by the BBC on City TV every Wednesday at 6 p.m. City TV. It's your world.
Welcome back. This is still Footprint. My name is Samuel Atamensa, and I'm here with Honorable Mike Gizo, or Nene Nagai Kasa, the 8th. So, Nene, you eventually had to leave F. Malawi.
Yes.
What actually triggered this final resignation?
Well, I will say that when I went to the district assembly and worked as the presiding member for some time, I was also then asked to join the consultative assembly.
Okay, for the 92...
For the 92
new constitution.
Constitution, yes. So I had to be in Parliament House or the Consultative Assembly. And it created a certain tension for me and my, not my office as such, because it was politically good for them.
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you, most of the organizations, when they have a political mind inside politics too, it helps them.
Gives them some.
Yes, because if they wanted certain things, you are there. But I decided to break with that. So when we finished writing the Constitution in 1992, into the end of it, then 1991.
Yeah.
Yes, into 1990.
So this was actually spearheaded by Justice D.F. Annan, is that
D.F.
correct?
Annan, yes, D.F. Annan. Then I was approached to go to Ministry of Agric as PNDC Secretary for Agric.
Whoa.
Yes.
Just
because of my stint with the farmers, cocoa farmers.
So this is still 91, before the elections?
Yes.
Okay.
91 towards 92.
Okay.
And I rejected it because I felt I was going into a certain technical area. I needed to learn on the job, even though we all know how to plant foodstuffs and things like that, but you must be knowledgeable enough.
I didn't think that was your forte.
I didn't think, yes, because I didn't want to go there and have a certain situation with technocrats in that area, because I didn't know much about agric. So PV, may he rest in peace, Mr. PV Obing, he looked through and told Chairman PNDC that no, he would look after it, or he would look at it and see where I fit, because I had worked hard, and in the Consultative Assembly we were a certain group. We also pushed hard for the people.
Remember some of the people you were with at the Consultative Assembly who were very active that you remember?
Oh yes, I'll say that Justice Samonu Morning, who is retired now, Sampi Ali.
We must have been young then.
Oh yes, we were all young men then.
Sampi Ali.
Yes, and we had a clique, about 3 of us, and Ayagitam.
Which Ayagitam, the chief?
China Pio.
China Pio Ayagitam.
Yes, he was a speaker. And we used to worry him a lot. So, well, the Consultative Assembly was interesting because you had all sorts of people there.
Yeah, from different regions.
Different regions,
districts.
different professions, different, yes.
We bonded together so quickly.
Oh, yes, because there was one thing which was creating that kind of thing. The fact that at that point, some people in the legal profession boycotted the Consultative Assembly and said they didn't want ordinary people or market women in the Consultative Assembly. So we had to make sure that we bond and with the legal people there, Martin Amidu, Honorable Martin Amidu, Justice Amonu Moni, and others.
Of course, we mentioned D.F. Anand.
Justice D.F. Anand, yes. It worked well because we have a Constitution and Legislative Committee that used to work with Attorney General's office for the drafters when they come in to look at the draft. I mean, I was on the People's Representation Committee because with Osafumafu, Minister Osafumafu, Senior Minister Osafumafu, and others.
They were all part of it?
Oh, yes. They were in the Consultative Assembly. But we were young, and we didn't have any political experience.
Okay.
But then they knew where we were heading to as, what do you call it, multi-party democracy. And for that matter, they had started positioning themselves elsewhere and things like that. We were, yes.
You were just happy doing the work for Ghana.
Exactly. So when we were just about when we finished, and they said I should go to Ministry of Agric, and I said I refused it. Later, I was driving one day when I heard my name that the government has constituted or had appointed some ministers or some secretaries.
Secretaries, yeah.
Yes, and they have appointed an additional deputy secretary for Ministry of Information. Gizo.
And then you heard your name.
I was driving. I
1
said,
p.m.
Hey, what is happening? So my wife called me that people have started ringing the house, and I said I was in town.
At that time, we didn't have mobile phones, so just calm down. Yeah?
Yes. Oh no, I think we had mobile phones.
No, mobile phones would be in the early 90s.
I know. We didn't have mobile phones. Yes.
Yeah.
So I went, and when I got to a place and I called home, and he said, I've been looking for you for all this time. They have mentioned your name as you going to Ministry of Information. Are you interested? Did he tell you and all those things? I said no. So I went to ask
Ghana.
Phoebe, and he said yes. He did that because I had refused going to
the Agric
Ministry. And they didn't know I would embarrass them again with that kind of situation. So but they knew I would feel very comfortable with...
knowing your background.
Yes.
Yeah. So at this time, who was the secretary or minister?
Mr. Kofi Kwachi, Honorable Kofi Kwachi. Yes, with Abaka Kwansa as a deputy. And so they said, another deputy.
This Abeka Kwansa from the central region?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. And I had to go and perhaps take in charge of operations at Ministry of Information because I'd come from broadcasting. Of course. And I used to go and work at graphic too, you know.
You were a consummate media man.
I had some friends in graphic and Ghanaian Times.
Wow.
So, well, sometimes I go visit them and see what the issues are, what front page material must be written.
See the way he's talking about it, you know, he said he wants to see what front page, but that was the real work. You know, I mean, those were the days they used to engineer what graphics front page should be.
Yes, you know, because I think the media work is not left for just anybody. You must have some wisdom with the people.
Yeah.
And it's not all stories that must come. So that if you don't want to create chaos, you must use wisdom. in putting something. If you want to create chaos, you can do it, but you must use wisdom.
Okay. So now you had now become the deputy secretary
I
for
went
information.
I mean, the day I went to work, they said I should report the next day, the following day. The day I was going to work, I went with my wife's car, and then they called me. I joined. That was in 1992. Yes, they called me to join the president or the chairman PNDC who was visiting Ningo Pram Pram. So I met the team at Tetekwashi roundabout. I heard the siren, so I detoured onto the motorway, and I waited for the siren and the convoy to pass, and I joined the convoy. And the soldiers were like, "Hey, where are you going?" They stopped. "Where are you going?" I said, "My name is Gizo." They said, "Oh, you are the new
kid on the block."
But then they had known me through AKUAFO CHEQUE and other things. So we went. We went to Ningo.
But just
that was when perhaps this politics thing started pricking my mind whether I should be there for the people or finish this and vamoose. But then my party, we started this party thing, Eagle Party and all those things. And my people in the district, at that time it was Dangme West District, and it was Shai Usudoku and Ningo Pram Pram. So the young ones there, and I mean, they know me. I had worked also at the sugar factory before at Asutari.
Wow.
Some long time ago. I went there as a sugar analyst. I did science in school though.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I mean, my background is science, so I went to the sugar factory.
Okay, so that's how you wanted to do medicine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, well, they said we wanted you to contest as a member of parliament. And, well, I nearly rejected it, but my father had been a district commissioner under Kwame Nkrumah.
Oh, that's a big one, man.
You know?
DC.
Yes. And before he was always like, my name is big in the district. It's decent. If anything, you must keep that name as a decent name. And if you are asked to be DC, you must go. But then this MP thing came, and I said, well, let me see what will come out of it. I prayed, because at that time I was also in action. I prayed, we prayed, and it was like, you must go. So I went through the elections, won in the constituency, and came to Parliament. But before I could say Jack, in fact, I had to go to Burkina Faso for first PACO because of the Ministry of Information thing.
Mm-hmm. And first PACO was media.
African, media thing. Mm-hmm. It was a big African media thing. Mm-hmm. I think we should also have something. And the chairman asked me to talk to, at that time, President Kampuari. So, yeah, I spent the day there when we finished, and I was coming. I got to Bolga. It was evening. I didn't want to travel in the night, so I went to I lived with the regional, PNDC regional secretary. And then in the evening, I heard my name as having been appointed Greater Accra Regional Minister. Because everybody knew I was going back to information. You know? Well,
so this was in 93?
93.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we had President Rawlings.
President Rawlings.
And the NDC.
Yes.
Okay. And you are appointed.
But I worked at information for some time. So you realize that President Rawlings had pictures of Kente and all those things. Now, all of them, I did it with a photographer.
All right.
You know, because President Rawlings, you know, initially they were using the coat of arms,
Yeah.
and he said he didn't want the military uniform, so it was the coat of arms in the offices, and I convinced him that we can't use the coat of arms and the military uniform, so we must have a civilian president, and do a portrait for him. That's how come we
got that.
We got that
in nice Kente.
Yes,
okay.
and green shirt,
Nice.
a green jumper.
Oh yes, yes, I remember that one.
Yes,
Uncle Mike, we will have to bring our story to an end here, and definitely we'll have a part 2 of this conversation because his real political life has only just begun. Yes. But for this episode, I thank you for watching. This is Footprint. We'll end it here. We'll continue some other time. Thanks for watching. My name is Samuel Atamensa.